Hello, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. All right. This is Just Connect. I am Dr. Natalie Phillips. I am your host of Just Connect, and we are going to just let some people roll in here and get some time on the clock. And I'm also going to try to share this out as we talk about our topic today, which is super interesting. I'm hoping you guys are pumped up about talking about procrastination. It's something that I really, thought about being the end of the year. Again, I really want to focus on talking about some issues that we want to just defeat before we head into the year. And so I'm hoping that people can come on and we can have a great conversation about this, because I think it's really, really good as far as just bringing to light what we do, why we procrastinate, and maybe learn from each other about what we can do to improve that. And so as people are kind of rolling in here, I'm just kind of sharing this out as I can. I want you guys to say hello if you're coming on, and also, make sure that I can see you, and make sure that, you invite people in, and let's get this conversation going. All right. So as I keep sharing out here, waiting for people to come on in today. Guys, it is the 16th of December. It is December 16th, and it is crazy because there's only like 9 more days till Christmas. I mean, talking about procrastination today, it's nuts to think about, oh my gosh, how many of you are totally done shopping with your Christmas gifts? And so if you're here, raise your hand. Let me know how you are. It's good to see you, Corey Workman. I'm so glad you're here. My dear, dear friend up in Estes Park, fellow audiologist. Okay, Corey, are you done Christmas shopping? That's what I want to know. Do you even Christmas shop, or do you have your wife do it all? So long time ago, my goal was, as many of you know, like very type A, I wanted to finish my Christmas shopping by Thanksgiving. And a couple years I did. Sometimes it was a few days after. I used to blame it on the fact that it's because I had boxes to mail out. So, I had to get everything together, but it's kind of like my type A personality too. I literally, okay, I have to come clean. I'm not really a procrastinator, but I kind of am in some things too. So this issue and this topic of procrastination, heading into the new year, I really wanted to talk about it. So Corey says he is not done shopping, and but he says I'm not done, but she's done. Okay, well that means that you do go shopping, so that's awesome, Corey. And so again, 9 days till Christmas, you guys. Maybe 2 weeks left of the year, and we're talking about procrastination, and it's super interesting because I thought about lots of things coming up. The end of the year, the end of the school year for kids, right? End of the school year, everybody has to try to get the grades up, and we're running around shopping, for Christmas gifts. We're running around trying to get, a lot of people who are in sales are trying to get their numbers up by the end of the year. I know that's at the end of the month a lot, but still, my job as an audiologist, we're running around because everybody has to get in to see you to try to use their health savings account, because all of a sudden they think that they need hearing aids when we've been telling them that all year long. But you know what? I'm the same way. I have new contact lenses in, right? So everybody does this, and everybody kind of maybe puts it off to the end of the year, certain things, right? Like maybe we're not all procrastinating on the same things, but I feel like I can't honestly say that I'm not a procrastinator, even though I feel like I'm very type A. So, I was a secretary for a board that I was on, and, I would take notes, and I would meet in Denver, and I'd still have an hour to drive back. But that night I got my minutes out, because part of the reason why I feel like I'm not that big of a procrastinator is the fact that I would get them out even if it was 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Why? Because I did not want to have to think about it, and I did not want it to take up brain space for me, right? And so for those of you who are joining, I'm so glad to see you. Kathleen, good to see you, another fellow audiologist. So for those of you joining in, what I think is really interesting is, I want to make sure that we talk about this. We talk about whether or not, we are procrastinators and what we can do about them. So I did some research. So again, for the most part, I'm not, really a procrastinator, but for most tasks, but for some things I feel like I am, right? And so it just depends, I think, on what you think is important. And we're going to get to, a chart that I usually put up. So the questions I thought about in procrastination is, how do we decide what is important and what is not based on, where we need to put our brains or our energy at the time? Or, how do we decide that? How do we prioritize what we're doing? And my next question I had to myself on this topic was, why do we procrastinate? If we know that it might have, might be hard for us later on, why do we still do it if we know that, man, the last time I left this to the last minute, I was so stressed out, or it wasn't very healthy for me, or whatever it is? If that happened, why didn't we learn our lesson? And why didn't we, why do we procrastinate the next time something came around? So I did a little bit of research and I was looking at some different articles, and I did find a really good article from the Washington Post that talked about maybe some of the whys and the hows of procrastination. Because, when I looked into it, it wasn't anything, necessarily about because you're lazy or, that it was a bad behavior or a bad habit. So I want to just lay that to rest, because a lot of people who think that they procrastinate or know that they procrastinate feel like, okay, well, I'm already maybe in this hole or maybe in this decision-making process where I just feel like I'm lazy and I've already let it go this long, I might as well let it go a little bit longer, right? And it's not necessarily that you're lazy. It's not necessarily that you have a lack of self-control, like overeating or gambling or things like that. That's what procrastination is related to. A lot of people think it's the same thing, and it not necessarily is. Kathleen says, I procrastinate cleaning. Yes, that's a good point, because some people, what I found in my research is that some people procrastinate by just not doing anything at all. And exactly, what maybe Kathleen is saying, but some people find other things to procrastinate for. So like for some people, they say, I procrastinate because I just don't do it. And I kind of sit on the couch and I just, I'm relaxing, right? And they put it off and they put it off and they put it off. Some people choose things like what you're saying that you procrastinate with, Kathleen. They say, oh, I'm going to clean the house, so I don't necessarily have to do that. So using another thing to procrastinate. So maybe you're not on Pinterest, or you're not finding a funny meme or whatever, or you're scrolling through social media. Maybe you're cleaning, so you think you're being productive, but you're actually procrastinating for doing other things, right? So, okay, I'm going to take myself as an example. I really need to finish these chapters in our book that my girlfriend Reggie and I are writing, and we have goals. I am sitting here looking at my whiteboard with all my different goals of finishing these chapters, the writing part. And there are so many things that are coming in my mind where I could procrastinate. Oh, I can wait. I can do this, right? I can do that later. But I'm starting to use other things like, well, I need to pick up, or maybe I need to wrap these gifts and get them to the post office or get them mailed, or maybe get our Christmas cards out. So I can't really write my chapters yet. So I'm actually using something else. And that's how this is the how, this is what we do, and the how we use procrastination as an excuse. Corey says that he procrastinates reports and paperwork. And he goes like this. Yeah, I know. I totally get it. I know, Corey, but you know what? That bugs me. Not about you, but about me. Like, I have to finish after I see a patient. I have to finish my reports pretty much before I take the next person down, back. Partly because, again, part of my brain process is if I can get stuff out of the way, I don't have to think about it and I don't have to worry about it. So, so procrastination doesn't necessarily mean that there's lack of self-control, because some smart overachievers also procrastinate. So just to put that in perspective, that it's not because you're lazy necessarily. It's not because you don't have self-control. All right. So interestingly, in this article that I found in the Washington Post, one professor says that people give in to feel good. So it usually happens when people fear or dread or have anxiety about something, about this important task that's awaiting them. And to get rid of the negative feeling, they procrastinate. So they open up a video game, they, scroll on social media, they do other things, because doing this other thing can make them feel better temporarily, but unfortunately reality comes back in. So some of the reasons why, people procrastinate is because they give into that temporary feel good feeling. Okay. Another, maybe there's different types of procrastinators. Another thing that I found is that, again, what I talked about, some people do useless things where, instead of just kind of sitting back and not doing something, they're using something else like cleaning to procrastinate, or other things, home things that you do around your home, things like that, versus really focusing on accomplishing what you need to get done in your life, for maybe some more long-term goals than these short-term goals of like, oh gosh, my kitchen is dirty, I better go clean it right now, right? Okay, so then I wanted to put up something here because I've talked about this and I put it up here, and it's the Eisenhower Matrix. And I know I'm going to cover my face just for a little bit, but I wanted to put this back up here. So the Eisenhower Matrix, I put this up a couple times in some of my different episodes, but this Eisenhower Matrix is based, or it's named after Dwight D. Eisenhower, our president. But basically, he thought that people should spend their time on what was truly important to them. So really what we should be focused on is focus on quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Okay, so things that are really, really important, we need to actually focus on this. But what's happening is procrastinators spend little time in those quadrants. Instead, they hang out in quadrants 3 and 4, where it's not as important, but they think maybe it is, or maybe they don't really want to attack some of the things. And so, they focus on the things that are not important. All right, so what was interesting too that I found was that I found a procrastinator's matrix. So I thought this was kind of interesting too, because, again, trying to figure out where something is important, that was the question that I had. How do you actually figure out what is important? And in a procrastinator's matrix, really, it's if you look at this, and I'll keep it up for a little bit, it really is kind of a circle of, is it really important? Okay, well, then maybe I should do it when I feel like it's urgent, or maybe it's urgent now, or maybe I really don't have to do it now because maybe I can just push it off till, forever, or maybe I can delegate it to myself in a future time. You're right. So this is kind of a silly and crazy matrix, but I thought it was kind of funny because I have put up that Eisenhower Matrix before, and I feel that it was something that was kind of a spoof on that, but it really tells us how we procrastinate, and following that matrix, what a procrastinator's mind does. Okay, so I never really like to talk about all the bad things about procrastinating without talking about what can we do. And so I wanted to put up some things about what we can do. And number one, this is kind of a side note before I go into it, is you can't just stop and say, okay, I got to stop procrastinating. I just need to get off my butt and actually do it. Because the fact is, if it were that easy, you would have done it already, right? So one of the things that you want to do to stop procrastinating is, number one, forgive yourself and give yourself grace. Okay. So again, I know that it's something that, I'm going to move that up there. I know that it's something that seems so easy, but a lot of the times we think, oh my gosh, I've gone this far already, like not doing something. It's just awful already. Like, I'm not able to do this. So number one, you have to forgive yourself and give yourself grace. Yes, you've procrastinated in the past, but it's time to actually say, okay, in order to make a change, I have to say I'm okay with that, right? And it was okay back then, but now moving forward, I have to do something else. Okay. The second thing that we have to do to stop this procrastination from happening is recognize that you don't have to be in a certain mood to just get started. Like, that's going to make you sit and go, okay, well, I'm tired. And since I'm already tired and it's 8 o'clock, I don't think I'm going to do anything anymore. It's already too late in the day. Oh my gosh, it is never too late. So you don't have to wait till a certain mood, or, you know what, I'm going to throw in till a certain experience or a certain environment changes in order for you to get started. Just get started. So don't wait. Okay. Third thing that I came up with is, again, going back to another episode that I talked about, why it's so important is setting your core values, because once you have these core values of what's important to you, then every single decision must lead towards your vision. And again, I'm talking about these topics about multitasking last week, and procrastination this week, because I'm really trying to think about what are some of these things that we just have to leave behind in 2019. And when we hit 2020, this is how we're going to attack 2020. So all leading up to 2020, I want to talk about these topics so that we are set and ready to go once 2020 hits. Again, or you don't have to wait. You can start right now. So one of the things, the second thing that I did say, yeah, right, you don't have to be in the right mood, right? You don't have to wait. So one of the things that I do want to say is, I have constantly, and I'm going to continue to talk about this word of the year that I want people to start thinking about so that I can help them I can hold them accountable to living out this word of the year versus just a New Year's resolution. And so thinking about it, you don't have to wait to tell me till the next year. You can tell me right now if you actually have a word of the year that you want to live out. And I've been taking notes. I have 3 or 4 people that have already told me their word of the year, including I finally came out with my word of the year too. You don't have to wait. So that goes back to number 2. Do not wait. Third one again would be set your core values. Each decision must lead to your vision. Okay. The last thing, very, very, tactical, I feel is make a short to-do list. And again, just like my multitasking episode, don't make it overwhelming. Long lists are daunting and they're defeating. So don't make it overwhelming, but make a short to-do list for that day only. And that's going to help you get out of this procrastination stage. If you have 1 to 3 things that's all you have to get done. In my phone, I have my calendar and everything I have to do, whether it's the smallest little thing or making a phone call, I put it in my calendar because what I like to do is like what we said last week about multitasking is I like to either cross it out or delete that event from my calendar. But there's short lists. There's nothing more than 2 or 3 things that I need to get done that day, but that will help you overcome procrastination. So I hope this has been helpful to you. And I'm so glad that you guys could join in. And I'm so glad that we can kind of sit and chat. For those of you who are coming in after, please, please, please make some comments of maybe some different ways that you're able to overcome procrastination. I feel like it's something that we can all share from each other, share and learn different tactics from each other. I always like to learn new things from other people. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Like, why didn't I think of that? But I'm going to take it and use it, right? So going into the new year, 9 days from Christmas, right? Do not procrastinate. You guys need to get your shopping done. Only, 2 weeks short of the new year. I don't want you guys to get caught on procrastination, but I want you to head into the new year with just defeating this and heading into the new year strong. So thank you so much for joining in Just Connect this week. I think next week, I'll have to look, but I think we might not have an episode because I feel like, oh no, it's the 23rd. So we will still have an episode right before Christmas. So I'll be here next week. Just Connect every Monday at 5:00 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for joining. And I've got one other comment. Oh, good. Awesome. So Kathleen says, thank you. Good ideas. Oh, she's going to be in Colorado. Yay. So hopefully I'll see you again. And thank you, Linda, for joining. I hope you can kind of go back and kind of catch some of the different things we talked about and maybe even put in your words of wisdom. And it's good to see you all. And I will see you next week on the 23rd. Monday, 5:00 p.m. on the next episode of Just Connect. All right. Thanks. I'll see you later. Bye.